Savannah is very similar to many southern cities in the way that the streets work. Unlike the west or east coast, the vast majority of residents are below the poverty line. So the concept of one area being the hood and another being wealthy is something that's not very common. Pretty much everywhere you go has the same things going on. I say that to say that territory is not very important. There's no history of a certain hood having issues with another. For example, maybe someone gets into an argument at school with another person, then boom, all of a sudden they're both rivals. They could be from the same neighborhood, it doesn't matter. In the South, pretty much everyone is ready for action, mostly because it's legal to own and walk around with a band machine. And all of this makes for a wild, unpredictable, and chaotic environment where friends turn enemies and the smallest disagreements turn into major beef. And none of that is exemplified more than this first story. Let me introduce you to a man named Jason Johnson, also known as Camouflage. He grew up in the Westlake Projects, one of the worst neighborhoods in all of Georgia. But fortunately, by the age of 16, he started to create a buzz down south. His first independent album actually sold 50,000 copies in 2001. And I know that it may not sound like much, but that's insane for a first album. It caught the attention of Lil Boosie and Birdman, who he ended up getting close with. And in 2002, he released a hit song called Cut Friends, and this is when he started to blow. He was officially the first rapper to ever put on for Savannah, Georgia. But just as he was ready to fulfill his role, the streets of Savannah would do what they do. May 19th, 2003, Camouflage goes to the Pure Pain Studios on 37th Street. And after a night of recording, he walks outside the studio and heads to his car. But right there is a man in black. Directly after the incident, Savannah's police chief Willie Levette came out and made some interesting statements. He pointed out that this could be retribution for incidents that Camouflage was potentially involved in. But after a small investigation, none of that was true. Instead, rumors came out that a girl that he was dealing with had a jealous ex-boyfriend. And whether that exact story is true or not, it's the nature of the streets of Savannah. Also, remember the name of the police chief, because that will be important down the line. But anyways, after the passing of Camouflage, the city had a major drought in music. No one notable would come out of the region for a long time. And that takes me to a young man named Taikwon Bowman. Born in 1999, Taikwon had a rough start in the Westlake Projects. His household was chaotic with his parents and it ended up involving CPS. When a young Taikwon received a serious burn on his skin, they decided that enough was enough. So Taikwon was adopted by his great aunt in the Fred Wessel apartments. However, her living conditions were not much better and the neighborhood was troubled as well. So after this, he bounced around the city in different foster care homes. This led to a sense of loneliness and abandonment that a child can never get back. And because of this, he became out of control. And it all started at 11 years old. One night at his aunt's house would change his life forever. He got into a scuffle with his cousin and ended up hurting him pretty badly. So his aunt called the police on him and he got 7 days in juvenile. After this introduction to the system, he kept getting in trouble over and over again. At the age of 13, he cut off his ankle monitor and began hitting houses. He consistently did this for a couple of years and was able to scrap together enough money to survive on his own. He spent many nights alone by himself trying to find a couch to crash on. His parents were nowhere to be found and he felt unsure about staying with his great aunt. And just like anyone without a good home, the streets became his first family. And for him, it wasn't a specific neighborhood or block. In order for this to make sense, let's head to 2010. During this time, some of LA's biggest street ballers decided to do business and move out to Georgia, and the majority of them just so happened to be rolling 60s. And over time, as more and more LA guys moved to Georgia, they started to bring their colors with them. The first area to start repping 60s were the south side of Atlanta, technically known as Clayton County or Clayco, and they have steadily grown to thousands of members throughout the area. In fact, many of Atlanta's famous rappers are known to be a part of the 60s. Anyways, through business dealings, the rolling 60s spread to Savannah as well. In fact, they spread to the west and south side areas, both of which Taikwon lived in. And by this time, Taikwon was ready to join the new group and fully immerse himself in the streets. And for him, it all started in 2014 while he was locked up with a fellow teenager named Kwafi Murray. During this time, they became best friends and had plans to take over Savannah together. But right after they got out, Taikwon was caught with a band machine and was sent right back. And here is where tragedy hits. April 25th, 2014. Quaffy wakes up and decides that he wants to run inside his friend's house and take a tool that he had just purchased. Wow, Quaffy Murphy, what a good friend to have. So Quaffy runs inside his house and takes what he wants. And when his friend comes home, he realizes what's missing. He knows that something fishy is going on. So he contacts his friends and lets them know what happened. And listen to this, Quaffy is brutally honest and says, yeah, it was me who took it. So instantly the friends are on a hunt to go find Quaffy and get it back. So the next day, Quaffy finds someone who wants to purchase it. However, he knows that there could always be something sketchy going on, so he contacts an older guy from the neighborhood named Alan Moore to roll with him. On the morning of April 26th, they all meet up in Alan Moore's driveway on 3800 Bull Street. The buyer's name is Norman Kuntz Jr., but more commonly known as Juki, and I don't think that he was there to purchase anything. Bam! Juki ended up getting life, but that did nothing for Taikwon's peace of mind. In fact, it devastated him and only made his heart colder. So when he got out, he knew that he needed a tool. However, shortly after, he was caught with it and sent right back to juvenile for another 2 years. I don't know, let me not judge, maybe the police officers are way better out there, but I've never seen anyone get caught this many times. Regardless, the 2 years changed him for the better and he found a new identity. Quando Rondo was the new name and music was the new career.